Right then, today I'm going to be doing a full PC build with this motherboard here. This motherboard is a AMD socket 939 board. It's a Asus AN8 SLI Premium motherboard. It's the version 1.02 without the fan. I'll just take you in for a closer look now. As you can see, it has two PCIe slots. This clip up here is broken. The chipset has a fanless heatsink on it, which is polished and reflective. It has a single heat pipe which connects it to the VRM heatsink. It has a 4-pin power connector for the CPU. For rear I/O, it has your usual headphone and audio jacks, dual gigabit LAN. It has optical audio out, a few older ports, and got a PS2 keyboard and mouse port, 4 USB ports. It does have 4 RAM slots which work in dual channel with DDR RAM. It has various fan headers on the board, 2 at the top, 1 down here, sort of in the middle above the graphics cards, and also 1 at the bottom down here. It has 8 SATA ports, as you can see here, 4 red, 4 black. Has a couple of IDE ports just in case you're using older hard drives, and your 24 pin there. Now the CPU I will be using in this build is this CPU here, which is a Athlon X2 6400 plus CPU. The RAM I will be using in this build is some OCZ DDR Platinum, 512 megabyte sticks at 400 megahertz with the timings 2225. I've got 2 of these. The graphics cards I will be using in this build will be an SLI, and they are 2 Geforce 9800 GTX Pluses. These are very, very high-end video cards, however they are reference. They have a single 8-pin connector. These are Zotac versions of the card, can be running up to 3 or 4-way SLI, as they have 2 SLI fingers. They both have blue PCBs. I've got 2 of these cards. They have 2 DVI outs on the back, and the bottom's just an exhaust. Got 2 of these. And the CPU cooler I will be using is a Xigmatek Thors hammer CPU cooler. You can see it's got 4 8mm heat pipes which have direct copper contact on the bottom. As you can see, the bottom of it is not quite flat, unfortunately, so this cooler could do with lapping, but well, it has actually got 3 smaller heat pipes on the inside just there. They are 6mm heat pipes. And as you can see, the fins are quite densely packed. It's got sort of a staggered look. The fan that I will be using on this CPU cooler is a red LED Aero Cool Shark fan. This is a 120mm fan. And the case I'll be using is a Xigmatek Asgard Pro case. I'm now going to start putting the components into the case. Just a quick overview of the case. The case takes normal ATX motherboards. It comes with 2 fans, one in the rear and one in the front, which you can't see because the front is on at the moment. It has a mesh grille front with space for 3 optical drives. You can mount a 120mm fan on the bottom, and there is a hole for the power supply fan as well, which also has a removable dust filter on it. In the top you can mount two 120mm fans as well. There's room for three optical drives and plenty of 3.5-inch drives. The cable management on this case isn't brilliant, but you do have holes, although there's not a lot of space behind the motherboard tray, so we'll see what we can do with that. The power supply I will be using for this build is a Be Quiet 650 watt power supply. It's a power zone. It's fully modular, as you can see. I have all the cables for it. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the motherboard into the case.
Making sure all the stand-ups are lined up. Going to screw all of the screws into the motherboard, obviously.
Now that I've got the motherboard all screwed in, I'm going to put the CPU in next.
Right, well.
Next thing I'm going to do is put the thermal compound on. Next thing to go on is the CPU heatsink. The next thing I'm going to do is put the memory modules in. Now the next thing to go in is the graphics cards. Got the CPU fan here. Right, now I've put everything else in, so it's time to put the power supply in and do the cable management, and then finally put the hard drive in. I've just plugged everything in apart from the hard drive, and one thing I forgot to do was plug in this SATA cable down here, as the second graphics card, when you have them in SLI, will cover all of the SATA ports, so you need a very low profile right angle SATA connector. I've put it at the very end there where it's least likely to push the card out. I've also taken that plastic bit down there off as well, because with a 2-slot card it is actually impossible to undo it with a 2-slot card, because the little clip is underneath there, so you can't actually get to it very well at all. So I've taken that off as well. You can probably see, but all of the pins are actually in properly on both cards now, so I just need to put the hard drive in the bottom there, get the SLI bridge, and then fire it up. This here then is the finished build with the rear side panel closed. You can see I've got the fans plugged in there. Two graphics cards. From how you'd normally see it, it looks sort of like this. Hard drive in the bottom. I've pushed as many of the cables underneath there as I can. As much of the cables for the 24 pin and graphics cards are behind the motherboard tray. Got the OCZ RAM in there. Let's see how she performs once it's turned on and everything. Right, I've gone and got myself a monitor here. As you can see, PC hasn't been booted up yet. It's just got the red light on. I've turned the power supply on, so let's see if it'll boot up. It's quite loud on the start up. Both graphics cards fans are spinning. There we go. Just get into the BIOS. And we're in. There we go. CPU speed is apparently 5.4 gigahertz. Interesting. Here it is booting up. We're going to boot into Windows 7. Just changed it back to auto in the BIOS because I don't want it booting at 5.4 gigahertz, because I don't think it would boot at that somehow. Might take a while because this hard drive isn't particularly fast. There we go. That's excellent. There we go, we are in Windows at last. Hopefully it will, yep, it's recognised the 9800 GTX pluses on the mouse. Just quickly open the CPU Z. go, the CPU is running at its stock speed of 2.4 GHz, that's a bit better. And we'll restart, and then I'll come back when I've restarted and installed the drivers, and then I'll be doing some benchmarks on this beast. Here we are in the back in Windows again. As you can see, both of the cards have been detected. CPU is working as well. So now all I'll have to do is get some graphics benchmarks on here and have a go, see what they can do.